My husband sometimes jokes with me when one of our kids is being particularly unusual, that they never had a chance at being normal. You know that, right, with you and me as parents? He's not really joking, and I understand why he says that. We're fairly quirky people. We're the kind of household where having an imaginary friend that just sort of happens to be a narwhal isn't going to give you any kind of pause. We hope, in fact, that normal isn't part of the vocabulary when we're talking about our boys years from now when they're in their grown-up stages. Of course, it's easy to think that striving for something outside of normal is fun or funny until somebody tells you that your son really isn't normal. And not in the he knows all the words to I am the walrus and he's only in kindergarten kind of way. It's more like the, hey, he can't do a bunch of stuff and he might never learn to do a bunch of stuff, so here's your stack of referrals kind of way. Suddenly, when you hear that, all the fun gets sucked out of being weird because your son isn't just quirky in that cool way anymore. He's broken. At that point, not normal sort of loses its charm. When this happened to us a couple of years ago, I threw myself into the thing. We entered this world where I did a lot of reading and a lot of terrifying myself, and then I spent a lot of time taking my kid to occupational therapy and physical therapy and developmental checkups with his pediatrician and analyzing everything through this lens of brokenness. I tried not to. I really did. I knew as deeply as I have ever known anything that it didn't really matter what was happening with my son because ultimately he was and is the most beautiful, otherworldly, fascinating, humbling creature that I've ever come across. And I remember saying to my husband many times, you know, they've told us this is not autism. And I kind of want to say to them that if they change their minds and they come to us one day and they say, this is autism, it has been autism all along, that it won't make a difference to me. It won't change who he is, so it doesn't matter to me. But knowing that didn't make me any less inclined to spend most of my waking moments whispering to myself in a secret corner of my mind where I hunched over research and tried to shine lights on things and spent every minute wondering whether whatever he was doing at that exact moment was the product of childhood or personality or disability. I felt like the labels both helped and hurt. It was as if I was gaining insight into my son at the same time that I was losing the ability to understand him clearly. It was more than a little lonely. It was always confusing. When we had play dates with typical friends, I felt like I could only see him as broken. But when we were among kids with challenges, he would emerge to me as somebody far more capable and indeed normal than I had hoped for. Still, normal or not normal, it was the kind of shadow world that became my reality until it wasn't. One day, therapy ceased. It wasn't all at once, but one day I woke up and with sort of a half-guilty start, I realized that we hadn't taken him to see his OT or his PT in months. I had chased down every answer I could find for him, including brief dalliances with alternative remedies and a fond fantasy of a chiropractic miracle. And the whole time that I was measuring probiotic doses and learning to bake gluten-free and obsessing over what kind of school would be the best kind of place for him, he was just growing up and growing away from all of that. I don't think he's grown out of it, but away from it, he has come, and he's not outwardly, visibly, to most people, broken anymore. The thing is, when a kid who has struggled so deeply for so long suddenly ceases to struggle, not in every way, of course, but in many ways, there's this whole world and this whole identity that just stops. Not for the kid, for the parents. There's this world of being the mom of a special needs kid that doesn't really hold me with any accuracy any longer, and yet I'm not ready, I think, for the world of a mom with a normal kid. The truth is that he's ready to go be a kid, but I can't shake off that chain of difference yet. he has, but how do I trust that I can let go of the end of it for him? How do I send him off to school or to camp or out into the world without uttering the words, "I just wanted to tell you," or "You should know that," or "Hey, could you keep an eye on that so I can report back to his OT?" How do I watch the faltering and the heartache that are part of every young life without wondering whether there's some part of this that is caused by his hidden, unsecret, but apparently dormant disability? Or do I now have to stop hiding behind this cursed mantle of specialness and realize that the normal I was looking for all along is now immediate? That every parent I know, whether their kids are therapy kids or not, kids who are as predictably developing as the milestone charts in the baby books, or kids with a diagnosis, every parent is feeling the same sense of worry and mistrust and suspicion of this business that we lightly call growing up. While I wrestle with the normal, he's going to skip ahead of me and find his way into it and through it, no matter how I feel about it. And yeah, I said skip because he learned to skip this year. And that was the best piece of normal that I didn't know I wanted.